Honorable Men Discord. Let's talk Jake Paul and Ngannou. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So let's get straight to it. Jake Paul's last fight, where he allegedly sustained a jaw injury, was Friday, December 19th, 2025, and that was against Anthony Joshua. All right, that was out in Miami, Florida. Now, initially, for those of you that did not know, he was initially geared up to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. When things were going on personally with Gervonta Tank Davis, he pulled back from that fight with Davis, and he was looking for a substitute. The person who he reached out to, one of the persons that he reached out to was Francis Ngannou, who at that time turned down the fight because I guess he didn't see Jake Paul as a worthy opponent, right? And I can understand why, right? Given his background, but Jake Paul considers himself a true fighter, and he wanted to fight him. The offer was made, Ngannou turned it down. Furthermore, Ngannou, who was trained by Mike Tyson, or got some tips from Mike Tyson when he was gearing up to fight Tyson Fury, which that was a decent fight, where some say that he got snubbed because they gave the win to Tyson Fury. Ngannou knocked down Fury, and I believe Fury knocked down Ngannou also. Or was it just Ngannou knocked down Fury? Forgive me if I don't have that correct. But here's the thing. Mike Tyson lent his time to Ngannou to show him a few moves, the peekaboo style of fighting, and Ngannou ended up ultimately losing that fight. So when Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson, which was I want to say was the first fight on Netflix for MVP brand promotions, when Jake Paul won, it disgusted a lot of people. It disgusted me also because I said, this is not what I thought I was going to see. I thought I was going to see Mike Tyson, even though he was, much older than Jake Paul. I thought Mike Tyson was going to knock Jake Paul out at the very least. Okay. Especially from all those videos leading up to that fight and showing how well in shape Mike Tyson was. I thought he was going to be able to accomplish that, but that did not happen. Ngannou turned it down. He didn't want to fight Jake Paul. So now we're going to fast forward into why I'm doing this episode. Why I'm doing this episode is because Ngannou now has a fight coming up, and that's going to be on May 16th of this year. And he's fighting somebody by the name of Philippe Lins. All right. Now, this is not a boxing match. This is an MMA match. And you might be wondering, okay, then what does that have to do with Jake Paul? Jake Paul, his brand does boxing. Well, things have changed. Jake Paul has been expanding his brand, and he's now incorporated MMA. Now, Francis Ngannou is fighting Philippe Lins again on May 16th, but that's an undercard. He's fighting in an undercard under Ronda Rousey, who Ronda Rousey has now joined MVP promotions, and she's going to be fighting MMA. So I want to say this is the first MMA event that MVP is going to have, Jake Paul's going to have. And listen, make no mistake about it, I'm not a huge Jake Paul fan. I think he clowns around too much. I personally don't like people that clown around that much in real life, much less for entertainment purposes. Now, I honestly think that's how he is. I don't even think this is an entertainment thing with him. I think that's how Jake Paul behaves, and I couldn't take it. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. But with that being said, I respect his business acumen. All right. I really do. He's getting a foothold on boxing and MMA. He's killing it, and he's doing it himself along with his partner. But for the most part, he's taking the world by storm. All right, he's taking the fighting world by storm. And again, I may not like his antics and the way he behaves, but I absolutely respect his business acumen, and I can't be mad at it. I salute him for that business acumen of his, right? So with that being said, Francis Ngannou is gearing up to fight on Netflix in an undercard under Ronda Rousey. Now, Ronda Rousey has a whole nother situation going on for her, and I'm actually going to cover that on a separate episode. But in terms of Ngannou, he was in a press conference with Jake Paul in the audience, and a gentleman stepped up and said, hey, what's up with you fighting Jake Paul? Because you had turned it down. And oddly enough, yes, he turned down a fight with Jake Paul, but he's willing to do business with Jake Paul now because he's still doing MMA fighting. Now, Ngannou recently stepped away from boxing. I don't know if he's going to go back to boxing. But if you ask me, I see two winners. I see a winner in Jake Paul for his business acumen. He's involved in boxing. He's involved in MMA now. And whether he decides to box again doesn't even matter because he's already established himself. He stepped in the ring with a big dog with Anthony Joshua, so I salute him for that also. All right, he took the hits from a heavyweight, right? So I salute him for that. He's winning. He doesn't have to box anymore. But the question was asked of Ngannou, what about you fighting Jake Paul now that you're on his undercard? Yes, he's on his undercard, but he's in the undercard for MMA. Jake Paul doesn't have a background in MMA, but the question was asked. And at some point in time, Jake Paul stepped up to the microphone, and this brings us to this. So let's watch this, and we'll talk about it further.
No, I mean, I'm down. I've always been down. You were the option before Anthony Joshua, and you ran like a duck. And I bet you didn't think I would last longer than you did with Anthony either. So you just know that you get worked in boxing, and I would love to see it someday.
No, I think you were just being a small boy, like not understanding, being a little disrespectful, and that's why I want to kick you out now. I really didn't want to fight you, but now I want to beat you. So there's a difference.
Let's do it.
And that's why I hold it, the statement that I want to just beat you up.
To beat your ass. Yeah.
So with that being said, Jake Paul staying true to who he is. He told Ngannou to his face, you ran like a duck. Listen, Ngannou didn't respect him as a fighter. And he has that right to however he feels. But being that Jake Paul is Jake Paul, you signed in his undercard. You signed on to his brand to fight in an MMA matchup, excuse me. And the question was asked. Now, I don't know if the question was staged because they want to do this fight and they want to build up something after the MMA. But one of the things I was saying that I didn't finish saying is I see two winners. Ngannou, after leaving Dana White in UFC, now he's in a position where it's almost like he's a independent contractor. So with MVP Promotions, being that MVP Promotions covers boxing and MMA, and it seems though, listen, let me say this. Jake Paul's a threat, especially to UFC. I'm not saying UFC is gonna be abolished. I'm not saying boxing is gonna be abolished. But when you have a brand that allows you to do either one, he's disrupting the other platforms. All right. And Ngannou's in a win-win because he could fight this fight coming up in May, MMA, and then turn around and months later, if not at the top of 2027, he could turn around and have a Jake Paul fight. He's getting to the money without any restrictions and limitations like that of UFC. All right. And this is why I said I will cover an episode on Ronda Rousey and her gripes at UFC, because she tried to return to UFC and it didn't seem like it went well for her. And then she found herself speaking against UFC, which you could say she joined on with John Jones and his gripes with UFC. But again, that's another story, another episode. But listen, what's your thoughts on the fact that Jake Paul stepped up to the microphone and practically challenged Ngannou to seeing him in the ring, but with gloves on? What's your thoughts on it? I think it's a win-win for both gentlemen. They're winning. I have nothing bad to say about either one of them because they're winning. Again, Ngannou is moving and shaking the way he wants to. And I think that's good for fighters in general. I think that's good for fighters that you're not tied down to a brand. I think you do need to tie yourself down to a brand to establish a name for yourself. So whether you're trying to be an aspiring boxer or you're trying to be a mixed martial artist, I think it is necessary for you to latch on to these brands and get the most that you can from them. Use that opportunity to learn some things and to get your brand up, get your name buzzing. And then if it doesn't work out for you, then branch off, and then just know that, Jake Paul may entertain having you on his platform and you can make money with him. I think that's a good thing for those that are, trying to figure out how to make a living from being a fighter. That's what I see as an outsider looking at it. If you disagree with me, let me know why you disagree with MVP and what MVP is doing by having both, promoting both boxing and MMA. I've never seen it done before. And if it has been done before, I'm not aware of it. Let me know in the comments if there's someone who's done that also. But to my knowledge, this is the first time I'm seeing something like this. And so I think it's a win-win. Would I watch the fight between the two of them? I would watch it. It's on Netflix. I'm already a subscriber to Netflix. I would watch it. But I think it would be a fairer fight for Jake Paul than him against Anthony Joshua, because Ngannou is not that well versed in boxing, and I'm not going to say Jake Paul is some type of superstar boxer. So I would absolutely watch it to see how it turns out, because I think Ngannou might be underestimating Jake Paul. He does have a punch. He does have a puncher's chance. I thought he had a puncher's chance with Anthony Joshua, but Anthony Joshua is just more seasoned than he is, and that's why the outcome was the way that it was. But I would watch it. So what's your thoughts on this? Will you watch the fight? Will you not watch the fight? And what's your thoughts on MVP and what they're doing by having MMA now as something that they promote? But as always, listen, I appreciate all of you for tuning in. On your way out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop the episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, stay honorable.